means that make
Perfect. Okay, let's start. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Brother Paul from ChurchGOers. It's Friday, lunch, learn and pray, and I'm delighted to be here again. Give thanks to God that I'm here to cascade another interesting session for you. We don't have a mystery guest or a special guest today. You know, we're basically moving towards making this a podcast. So rather than a Zoom thing, it's going to be a proper podcast. We're going to get a podcast studio because I am squatting on my church's Zoom account at the moment. But we're going to make it a Zoom thing. And yeah, most weeks we're going to have a special guest. And we're going to be delving through a number of topics which I'm going to present to you shortly. So, but let's just start off as we usually do with my assistant. How are you, dear?
Greetings and welcome to our Lunch, Learn, and Pray session presented by ChurchGOers, the thought leaders in digital ministry, and community church. Today, as always, we start by blessing your lunch, followed by a multimedia presentation, and concluding with a Q&A section. Just a few housekeeping points to go through before we get started. Please stay on mute until we launch the interactive section. But in the meantime, do key your questions in the chat or use the Google form link provided. The session will be recorded, so you are welcome to switch off your cameras if preferred. But if you're feeling truly Christian, then key your name and church in the chat, and keep those emojis coming. Lastly, we thank NTCG Herne Hill for sponsoring the session today. I now have great pleasure in introducing the founder of ChurchGOers, Brother Paul Johnson.
Absolutely. What an intro. And yes, as I say to you guys, we're gonna be discussing a few things. But for those of you that might not know who ChurchGOers are, I'll just quickly run through some of this presentation. Who's that? Somebody trying to get in, please forgive me. So yeah, for some of you who aren't aware, ChurchGOers are trying to encourage churches to be centers of excellence. And this whole thing started from a manifesto which we compiled on behalf of the National Church Leaders Forum. And the scope of ChurchGOers, therefore, is quite broad because it covers a whole manifesto. In the same way that the government has a manifesto, they're going to do this, they're going to do that, they're going to do the other. Well, do they ever do that? But, you know, I'm a man of God. So if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. So the scope of ChurchGOers is big. But I think you guys are getting the hang of it, right? But let me just quickly introduce you to this little icon on the right here. I'm not going to go into it. But in a nutshell, we're empowering believers, saints, Christians, however you like to be referred, to be digital evangelists and to be mentoring role models. So we're doing something for every Christian. And then for the churches, we are trying to bring them on a journey, empower them to become hybrid churches, embracing digital and becoming custodians of the kingdom in the 21st century, whereas a lot of them are lagging behind. So in a nutshell, we're mentors that have digital skills that are helping the church and Christians to fulfill their purpose in the world that we live in today. Maybe that will suffice. Okay. And let me see what else I've got to show for you. So we break things down. I don't know if you guys logged in last week. I might go over it quickly again this week, but we break things down into the demographics of a church and its congregation. We break it down. Now you can see from this slide, it's just representing, well, you know, who are you in the church? Are you a visitor? Are you a member? Are you a minister, a leader? Or are you a sponsor or a partner? And the point here being that we have something for everybody. You know, it's like everybody's been accommodated in the platform because that was their remit. I had to have discussions with church leaders, not just pastors, church leaders about, the issues that they are currently facing and potential solutions. So, yeah. Okay, so for visitors, I've got another slide that's going to go into that. So I'm not going to go into that today. And also, if you missed the announcement last week, the platform is live. So we are going to be spending the first, well, our priority is onboarding churches, onboarding Christians onto the platform. And I'll go over that today. It's a very quick 90-second process. And thereafter, you'll wonder how you ever survived without it. So let me see if I can skip this slide for now. And break down, this one isn't quite finished, but break down, as I say, what we do for visitors, members, ministers, for your digital ministry team and for partners or sponsors, right? So on the left-hand side here, you have the key components of ChurchGOers. So we have an app, and that is our flagship product. If I want to be known for something, it's for that app, because a lot has been packed into the app. That was the first thing that we delivered. And yeah, I'm quite proud of how it's manifested. The feedback I had is good. And yeah, so first and foremost, we do an app, but we also have a network, and the network is for fellowship and for networking, right? And for communications, because the most obvious anomaly that exists in the kingdom today, as far as the church institutions are concerned, is that there's no communications network whatsoever. And so I'm yet to understand what we mean by fellowship, because if I can't even talk to the people in my church via some channel or other than face to face, something's wrong. Because in my entire working history, on day one of working for, I would say I worked for about 100 organizations through consultancy. On day one, I can contact anyone in that organization, day one. And that's going back over 40 years. So we are over 40 years behind in terms of how we communicate. And I challenge anyone to talk to me about fellowship without a network in the digital world that we live in. WhatsApp, everybody's happy with WhatsApp. It's not a corporate tool. It's a social tool, right? So for social purposes, we have a WhatsApp communications group, and suffice to say, that's all we use it for. I despise it being used as a corporate tool, because it does not satisfy most of the criteria that I live by. LinkedIn is one of my favorite tools. So for networking purposes, which is very important in today's world, LinkedIn is definitely a tool of choice. And if you have to go down the social media route, do not leave out LinkedIn. Most people don't class it as a social media, but it is. Right? Professional. And then we have a website, we have a knowledge base and blueprint. You get the idea? There's quite a lot. This is just the key bits that we provide, right? And if you're a visitor, what we're trying to do is, if you don't know what church you want to go to, if you don't know what service you want from a church, we give you all the directories for all churches, food banks, warm spaces, we everything you want to know about where the churches are, where the church services are, we provide that in the app, first and foremost. So it's guiding them to the church of their choice, in a nutshell, rather than them going through. And I guess the way we do it now is, we see a church and we go in a church and we go in and think, oh no, it's not Pentecostal, no, this won't do. Or you go in another church and say, well, where's the creche, or where's the church van? And eventually you find yourself in a church that satisfies your requirements. Well, the app breaks it down into all the different attributes that you might want in a church, so you can be more scientific about how you go about looking for a church. So you get the idea. We provide quite a lot for visitors, but we're also trying to market the church as a whole. to non-believers or people that are unchurched. For mentors, we do a bit more. So for members, we do a bit more. Mentoring comes into play. We provide business mentoring, technical mentoring, evangelism, online evangelism, mentoring, and e-ministry or digital ministry, right? So in a nutshell, we kind of cover those four domains. And yeah, so typically these, what you see on the screen here is these are the things that members will typically be using, or what's available for members to use. Ministers pretty much the same, but they have strategy, governance, and e-compliance stuff that's available. For people in the digital ministry team, we need to have a discussion because you're involved in everything, because you are churchgoers. Just because I'm the spokesman don't mean that I am the company. You know, the way it's been architected for its various reasons is we are trying to mobilize the church and mobilize the different resources you've got in the church. Now, the people who are in tech, the people in digital ministry are already responsible for providing AV and media services to their church. We're just adding best practices onto that so that they function as a digital ministry, as we like to call them, and they liaise with us with regards to further, best practices, compliance stuff, and eventually steward that church into becoming a center of excellence, which is our end goal for 2025. We need some flagship churches that we can say, ChurchGOers recognizes you as a center of excellence, and we give you an award, And then sponsors or partners, people, well, primarily, initially, this will be people who already attend church, that have a business or an enterprise of some sort, whether you're an author, you write books, or whether you have a shop, or whether you're in the professional side, you represent the partners or sponsors of churches. And we'll have a discussion about that at another time, but that's basically what I mean by partner or sponsor for churchgoers. Hopefully that made sense to you guys. So we covered a bit of the roadmap last week, but this sums it up quite nicely, I believe. So this is our 2025 roadmap, and I am super excited about, the adrenaline is running about, this feels right. The Holy Spirit is giving me good vibes. This feels right about, what I'm trying to achieve, what we are trying to achieve this year. So it starts with the testimonies bring hope, right? I'm hoping you guys have seen the flyer that's gone around, the video that's gone around, the comms that's gone around. And if you missed it, in a nutshell, we are going to publish one or more of our testimonies in a book, an anthology, right? An anthology full of testimonies. And ChurchGOers is going to show you how you would go about publishing your own book as part of this exercise. So not only are we going to produce the Testimonies Bring Hope anthology book and get it on hard copy and get it out there on Amazon, etc., but you will then know how to write your own book or you write your own poetry publication, right? And you think, well, so what? And I think, no, this is for God, Your testimony, you're telling people, what God has done for you. It's like your reward, if you want that mansion, if you want, my father's that, if you want that mansion, it's your deeds that determines whether you get a tent or a sleeping bag and a mansion. I read my Bible. Just because he says, just because there's lots of mansions, don't mean you're going to get it. You need to do something, and I'm going to help churchgoers like me to be more active in ministry if they don't serve already in CPC or whatever you guys call it. Yeah. So our first task of the year is to publish a book, and what I'm asking you guys is to give me at least one testimony, which shouldn't take you more than 2 hours to write down your testimony and make that your contribution to this milestone, right? And we're calling it Testimonies Bring Hope because the purpose of the testimony, apart from to make God know that you're still on the case, the purpose is to evangelize, right? our story, your testimony is the most powerful way to evangelize. I'll go toe to toe with anybody that tells me they have a more effective method, right? So when you get all those testimonies in a book that's available for people to buy or for people to see when they're on Google and they think, you know what, I'm suffering here, you know, what's the solution? And then and all of a sudden, testimonies bring hope. Let me go buy that book, man. That looks powerful. Maybe that can help me. All right. So um, that's the target. And I might quickly go over that later on if I've got time. We're going to have in April, we've got our anniversary. So we're going to have our Digital Ministry Summit, which we had last year. We're going to add a little bit more flavor this year. And that should be good. I mentioned earlier, you might have missed it, but we're going to have a proper podcasting studio set up. So at the moment, I'm squatting on my church's Grace on Zoom, but we're going to productionize this to be a proper podcast available on podcasting channels. And again, it's a way of me mentoring you guys as to how you would set up your own podcast, because you're going to watch me do it. Even if you have to learn by my mistakes, but it's still educational. Sometimes that's the best way to learn. All right, what else have we got? Mentoring, right? Mentoring is already in place. But what we want to do is to add career fairs. We want to have some kind of involvement in career fairs alongside universities. And I'm working out the best logistical way to accomplish that. But that is a milestone for mid-year. Training, again, this is already in place now digitally. If you look on the app, you'll see. But what we want to do this year is make it available on premise, in church, in the sanctuary, if you have that capacity. So if you have a church hall or you have a church annex of some sort, then it will be feasible for you to deliver training to your congregation or your local community, assuming you have the resources to deliver that course. But leave it to me. It's all in hand. That plan is going to work. Watch this space. Come September, October, we want to have a conference. So we want to have a hybrid conference of churchgoers. So hybrid, I mean, it's going to be in a building somewhere. I'm hoping sponsors are going to be beating down my door to donate their premises. If not, it will be in a church somewhere. But it will also be broadcast online. And a feature of that will be where we'll be awarding our first cohort of churches that have reached our sense of excellence standard. And last but not least, Founders Network. So, as I say, one of the demographics that we cater for are partners or sponsors, or however you want to represent them. They are key. They are part of the ecosystem that supports the whole of the churchgoers concept. So what we want to do is launch a network where these people can get airtime and they can explain what they do, or they can impart some of their wisdom and knowledge to other people that are trying to start their own business and understand the world of the entrepreneurial world. So hopefully that makes sense. And that is my first phase of the presentation over. I don't know if we've got anyone in the house that wants to fire some questions at me. If not, what we're going to do is go over to I'm going to go over to our calendar, right? So I'm going to break down what we hope to achieve, because this looks ambitious, right? But when you see our calendar, it breaks it down, right? It's like I'm going to need some soldiers. I'm going to need some soldiers. So let me see if I can get another screen up, and enlighten you more. Perfect. All right. So we have another calendar. All these presentations, by the way, are put on the app. I mean, they're very interactive. They're very lively. So they might frighten you a bit, but all of this stuff is actually on the app. So, all right. So you should be seeing a calendar, and I don't need to explain the purpose of it, but suffice to say, the way it's implemented, if it's yellow and it's highlighted and underlined, you should be able to click it and it will play a video. If it's in the past, it will be a video recording of the lunch and learn session. So it's an easy way for you to see something if you've missed it. And if it's in the future, it will just show you the flyer if we've got a flyer for it, so you can understand. Oh yeah, I want to go to that session. It's work in progress, but yeah, the framework's there. But this one here, I spent a little while thinking about, well, what's digital ministry? Digital ministry is tech, comms, and evangelism, right? And then it breaks down into some more areas. In fact, each of these things highlighted have got a video behind them, but I'm not going to play them now. So that's on the x-axis, if you like, and then going down there. These are all the topics, the podcast topics that we are planning to broadcast. And then as we do that, you'll be able to click in a cell to see that episode for that topic and that domain, if that makes sense. So by the end of the year, you won't see any blue. This will be all yellow. And I'm thinking, well, there's only 50 odd weeks in a year. So how we're going to achieve that is going to be challenging. But it isn't just me. Remember, I'm not really churchgoers. I'm just a spokesman. Like, for me, I'm going to be mobilizing people who work in digital ministry to engage in churchgoers the way it was designed. Yeah, it's work in progress. So you trust me, by the end of the year, God willing, there'll be no blue cells left. Everything will be yellow because there will be content available for people to watch. All the podcast sessions will be available to watch via that calendar. I hope that makes sense, because we're going to go over now to the skills matrix, if I can remember what I called it. Let me see. Or maybe I should do testing this now, just in case you guys missed it. All right, let me just quickly cover testimonies, right? So you should have seen this. It's a flip book. Yeah, you click on the ends, it'll flip through the pages. It's just the high level instruction that you need for providing your testimony for me, right? And it's probably OTT, because the only thing we really need is the testimony, but we'd like you to categorize it into a theme. Let me just see if I can zoom in a bit. So the main thing is we have 7 themes: overcoming adversity, the power of prayer and faith, finding purpose and calling, spiritual growth and transformation, family and relationships, hope and encouragement, and God's provision. You should nominate one of those that most closely represents your testimony, because these will be the chapters in the book, right? We'll have 7 key chapters in the book, and each chapter will cover a theme, right? That's all we're asking you to do. Some of the questions I've had, the rest of these guidelines, it's just saying, yeah, give us a title, and it should be about 2 pages long or so. Whatever you want to give. If you think it's adequate, then just fine. Don't get stressed about how many words should it be. I'm saying on average it's going to be around 2 pages, but it can be 1, it can be more. Personal information. So I'm recommending that you put your Christian alias in there rather than your government Christian name, but it's up to you. If you don't mind your name being published in a book, then fine. If you're a little bit nervous, then use your Christian alias. Brother Paul there must be a million Brother Pauls out there, right? It doesn't narrow it down. So it's up to you what personal information you want to provide. And that includes your photo. If you want to give us your photo, that's fine. But the main thing for January is I need the words. I need to put it together into one compilation, and then we we polish it in February, but it's your main testimony that I need. So we want you to categorize it. We want you to give us a title for it, and then give us the body of it. All right. It can't get any simpler. It can't get any simpler for me. I actually think this is the simplest thing that having had to publish, let me see, you guys can't see this, but I actually had to create the church manifesto, right, for black churches. And trust me, that was a project and a half in terms of complexity and logistics. It really was a challenge. And I know how people work. They say, well, what's the deadline? And you tell them the deadline and they wait till 24 hours before the deadline, and then they say, "Oh, I need an extension because I'm busy that day," or what? It's just ridiculous. So this is for God, right? And if you don't believe it's for God, this is like, well, if you haven't brought anyone into your church, this is the next best thing. Publish your testimony, and I guarantee when this book, well, I say guarantee, I declare that when this book goes out on Amazon, goes out in the bookstores, goes out to the British Library, God is going to send the right person on the right day to read your testimony, and that's going to bring them into your church. And you probably even hear them stand up in church and say, I'm here because I read a testimony by so and so, so and so, brother, so and so, and so and so from such and such a church. Trust me, that's how it works. Right. I'm excited about it because I love reading testimonies. So we've got a little video here. Let's just. Perfect. Right. Now, the other thing I'll say about testimony, because remember, everything I'm doing is part of mentoring. It's not just me. I'm not presenting. I'm trying to teach you guys kind of subversively, And I'm thinking, right, apart from you knowing how to publish a book, some of you guys aren't too familiar with our network. Remember, I said the different components. So we've got a communications network, and there's not a lot of traffic in there, which tells me that you guys aren't too comfortable in how to use it. So you will be posting your testimony on the network. All right. And let me make a note. I'm going to give you a quick intro as to how that works, but it is no more complicated than, what's up. All right. So I think that's all I wanted to say on testimonies. But next week, I'm doing my testimony. So, I'm hoping. Now, I actually can't remember. I actually can't remember where this. Let me just go back on that because I know it's on there. Right. So, what we're going to quickly cover now, looks like it's still on the right thing, is the skills matrix, right? Now, we did a special in the week for New Testament Church of God. So, just in case you weren't on that call or you're not part of New T, let's just play this. Amen. All right. So what you see on the screen is a skills matrix model or a model of your church, right? If you think about your church, visualize it. It's made up of people who have got trade, professionals, entrepreneurs, academics, and students, or some across all five. I don't know. And then you've got visitors, members, ministers, and leaders, right? Oh, gosh, just people in the waiting room. All right, let me multitask here. All right, okay, so we're all right. So let me go back to where I was. So the skills matrix, right? So this is basically showing you the demographics of a church, right? So we went through trade, professional, entrepreneurs, and you've got visitors, members, ministers, and leaders. You also have some kind of age demographic as well, right? So elders, seniors, up and coming, next gen, and youth is how I like to summarize it. And also you have whether they are onliners or whether they are in person or whether they consume church um, on demand, right? So, and this is basically saying, well, you know, as I said to you earlier, churchgoers provide something for everybody, right? But just to show you the power of the church, it's like, you know, if you could take advantage, let's go back to the first demographic, right? For me personally, like a month doesn't go by when something doesn't go wrong in the house or come or whatever you know, and you think, oh, what's that plumber's name again? Well, I really like him, but it's an emergency, or you know, a fuse blows or your fuse box blows up or something like that, and you think, well, where do you go to get such help? Now, think of your pastor. Where does he go? Because everything he needs doing, from landscaping or the lawn outside the church, painting the church, you know, doing electricals, and the boiler needs servicing. He knows these individuals, right? How did he manage that? Well, I'm quite sure how he managed it. But the way it's normally done is you have a skills matrix. So when someone gets onboarded onto a network or an organization, you record what skills they have, right? I'm saying retrospectively, I'm saying to come on board churchgoers, you need to fill in a form. We'd like you to fill in a form. And that form is going to ask you, you know, where do you fit? You know, are you a visitor? Are you a member? What church do you go? What profession do you have? What occupation do you have? Do you mind spending 2 or 3 hours mentoring, etc., right? A 90-second form, but it's used to help you. So if you say, well, you know, I serve the church, but you know what? I don't know anything about digital, I don't know anything about technology, I don't know anything about evangelizing online or business, etc. We all look at your profile and say, right, okay, we'll target you with people who can help you for free. We'll target you with the courses, with the mentors that can help you, maybe even within your own church, because you don't even know what everybody does in your church. You don't even know if you're the person you sit next to on your bench, unless you're one of the people talking about, right, can help you, right? Every day someone tells me something about what they do in my church, and I think, wow, you know, I didn't know you did that. You know, that might be useful to me one day. So the idea is that church should be a self-sufficient ecosystem, not just about banging your tambourine and worshiping God. That, you know, that they are high, you know, I'm not saying that's not not the primary reason why we're there. But I'm saying whilst we're together, let's benefit from what from the from what we do, you know. Even the scripture tells you that we're all parts of one body in Christ. But how you interpret that, how you benefit from that is down to you. So I'm trying to empower people to benefit from being in church. And in doing so, from the outside world, when the outside world see how well organized we are, because I wouldn't use that word right now, but when they see how organized we are, how we serve each other. They're going to want some of them. What, you can get mentoring in church now? What, you can get training in church now? What, they do this and they do that and they do the other. Eventually, we're going to get the respect that we deserve. All right. So, is a master plan behind all of this. And let me just quickly cover one little thing on this slide, because the slide, does a few things, because I like to keep it lively. But let me just see. Let me just show you one thing that I think sums it up. Now, I need you guys this year, right, to be ambassadors for churchgoers. It's like, I think some people could join churchgoers and they come on and, I'm thinking, do you go to a party on your own? Where do you go on your own in your entire life? When you join something, you don't join it alone. You bring your family with you. You go to a party, you bring your family with you. You're going to join the network, you tell your neighbors, right? You tell your friends, because churchgoers is a kingdom thing. This isn't a keep it secret thing. All right. So I need you to be ambassadors, and we're gonna discuss how you achieve that. But not today. This slide here, if you want to summarize what churchgoers is or does, we are digital mentors. But we mentor in business, we mentor in technology, we mentor in digital ministry, and we mentor in online evangelism. But if you can't remember that we do this, that, and the other, just say that we are digital mentors to everybody, and they'll get it. Right? They'll get it. Just say we've got a lovely app and we're digital mentors. All right. The people who we most want to serve are tomorrow's future, right? So once we mentor for everybody, it's the youth that I've got, my heart is set on trying to help the youth who need help. So this is the 4 stages of life: academia, employment, management, and business. Right? And what the characters at the bottom are your mentors. And being a mentor myself, I can say that a mentor is absolutely invaluable to you when you're transitioning from one phase to another. Right? So when you're going from academia into employment, right, that's when you realize you don't know anything. You think, I need a CV. How do I get a job? What's this networking thing? And what do they mean I have to give a presentation and they're going to take all kind of tests before I even considered for a job? Like it's an obstacle to get a job. But the way that you can make that less make that as smooth as possible is by consulting people who will tell you what to expect. It will give you, in fact, what does it say? They will open doors for you, right? In summary, they'll tell you the shortcuts, right? Or they'll help you to climb a ladder if you're already in employment, right? And there's a lot that a mentor does. But in summary, I want you to just have a vision that churchgoers is about mentoring people in digital. At the moment, no one owns mentoring. There's mentoring organizations which, I run a mentoring academy, but they don't, they're specialists. They, like you see here highlighted, some are spiritual mentors, financial mentors, cultural mentors, it goes on and on and on and on. But no one owns the space. No one takes charge of mentoring. And I think that's an opportunity for the church. So when I say to you guys, I need you to be mentoring role models. I want you to start by just being prepared to tell somebody what you do if they ask you. That's all I'm asking. But that will give you an understanding of mentoring. And you might see that all you do is tell somebody something, and before you know it, that person has got a job in your sector because of the advice that you gave them. And then if you get an appetite for it, you might go to the next phase and the next phase and the next phase. So I hope that makes sense. So part of onboarding and part of us recording this demographic information, which is not personal, is so that we know how we can serve you, but also how you can serve in the kingdom. It's all being architected. This is God. This is God's work manifested through me from the assignment that the churches asked me to do. nearly 2 years ago now. So I think that covers, I don't know if there's going to be any digital ministry people in the house, but briefly speaking, if you're in the digital ministry, then typically, right, some of you're going to be from technical area, some from marketing, you might have a student, you might have somebody in admin. You could be any cross section of the church. Now, I think the key thing I want you to get over today is that you are churchgoers. I'm just giving you the instructions on how to represent what churchgoers is trying to accomplish in the church. And I will say that having spoken to really high level church organizations or church leaders, we're dealing with statistics like 45% of the UK population identifies as being Christian. You go back 50 years, that was 95%. So in 50 or so years, it's just gone pear-shaped. That's the problem I'm trying to solve with the tools I have at my disposal. A second statistic that knocked me for six was 88% of people who go to university from a church background do not come back in the short term. So they start off as Christian, they go to uni being uni, they don't come back. And I think the church, if not being responsible, they should do something to arrest that statistic instead of just saying, well, we pray about it. No, for me, it's like I'm a Book of James man. It's like it's faith and deeds. It's praying and doing something, Anyway, this slide here for the digital ministry that are observing this is saying you need to look after your online demanders and the people who are your Zoomers or people who just dine in live online, as well as the people that are in church. They have the tech, right? And the idea is that however you run your AV, you have to give a 360-degree view to all three congregations, right? All three congregations, you have to engage all of them, not equally, but equal consideration, right? Because obviously there's constraints if they're not in the sanctuary. But you need to do more than just say, good morning, people logging online. No, come on, we can do more than that. Anyway, I've got some tips, I've got some best practices for you. Don't worry, I've got everybody catered for in this initiative and this platform. Right, and then finally, let's just have a quick look. I'll say finally, but I'll probably have some time for questions. Let's just have a quick look at the network. Although mine is a good one to look at because I've got access to everything. So, churchgoers.mn.co is the network location. You guys should already have joined. And if you just, it's still sharing this tab, perfect. If you just look on the left-hand side, you'll see that there's some forums and there's some groups, and the ones you can see tend to be the ones that you've got access to. It's possible that you could see something, but when you click on it, it'll say, oh, we will send a request for whoever owns this group for you to join it. But it's kind of spaces or groups and forums, and that is how it's organized in a nutshell. So we've set one up for the Book of Testimonies, right? We've set one up for the Book of Testimonies, which is our task for January, right? The testimonies bring hope, anthology is our mission. So all the information you saw on that flipbook is also available here. You just click on an article and it will give you some information, right? So all the key information is there for you, but you don't need this, right? Because the task is just write down your testimony, right? When you write it down in the network area, in the Book of Testimonies part of the network area. If you haven't joined, it's quite simple. You click on churchgoers.mn.co and it will send a request. We'll accept your request And then you just need to join the book of testimonies, which doesn't require approval. You just click it and you're in. And then you just click create and you'll see article. You probably won't see the others because that depends on your privileges. So you click on article and you're off. 2 clicks, 2 clicks, right? So then you put a title there and the text goes there, right? This is my story, and blah blah. And then anything else that you need to know? Yeah, just double clicking will bring up your usual editing features like you're using any word processor. But I would imagine most of you will have already prepared it in a tool of your choice. It might be Microsoft Word or Google Docs or Notepad or something, and then you just paste it into here. That will work. Once it's done, you just post it. And then I will see, yes, I've got another testimony for the book. I'll have a look at it. And, if there's things that, you need to add to it, like you decide that you want to give me the testimony first and then update the post with your personal information, that's fine. The main thing is I want the text, right? I want the text by the end of the month. All right. So that's it. That's all you need to know. Join the network, right? Part of joining the network, right? You will then understand a little bit more how you fellowship. Let me just see if I can quickly, if I was in another group, say, in another group, didn't they all kind of like feature the same? The names might be different, but they all feature the same. This particular one, it's got brethren, so you can use this to have a look at all of, there's actually no one in that group as it stands. All right, so brethren, you can use this to see people in the group. Events, that's self-explanatory, about to see all the events that have been posted. Fellowship is the equivalent of WhatsApp. So this is where you just key a message in and it will go to the group, or you can highlight a particular person and send them a one-to-one message. Gospel is your articles. I call it gospel, but I might rename it because, we're dealing with the church. But yeah, so this is where you would post an article. So let's just say you was the administrator of the church. Your comms would be more official than if you were just fellowshipping with ordinary people. So so the owners of the group or certain people would have access to this area. And then outreach, as it's described here, it might be called something else in another group. It just gives you a view of everything, the posts, the members, and featured events, etc., etc. Wow. How are we doing for time? All right, that's 10 minutes. I think that covers my agenda for today. And if I have anyone in the house, I'm willing to take questions. Anyone in the house? Network, that was covered. Anyone in the house? Going once. Any participants that have a question for Brother Paul? I will gladly respond to any question. I know my presentations are crystal clear, so I probably don't have any questions. I'm sure your church don't mind using. Let's just read the chat then, shall we? Welcome, Madam Assistant. No, what's going on there? Doesn't get church. Use email, WhatsApp, etc. Which are the network tools? Blah 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 blah. Right. It's a question about tools, right? Someone's asked a question about tools. On the app itself, we cover all the tools you need for digital ministry, all the tools you need for online evangelism, all the general tools you need to run your church, right? And not only that, so we provide the information about the tool, but we also give you information about who is a mentor in that tool. So if you can't be bothered to watch the video and you just want to hear it firsthand, we provide all of that information. So yes, I think that answers that question. Who's this now? I would guess that at the admin level of church, there are more business and corporate tools available as this is the working arm of the church. Yeah, again, my previous answer covers that. We cover all the key tools. right? And not only the tools, we actually make the bespoke tools for you guys. So we provide a calendar, we provide a rota system, we provide a way for you to communicate. If you're a multi-church, we provide a way for you to communicate across your entire organization, right? Via the app. The app is too powerful. You can't buy that. The roadmap looks interesting and doable. Absolutely. This is a God-inspired thing, right? It's a God thing. And, I've achieved a lot more in less time. So we're going to do this. The thing is, it's not me. I'm empowering you guys to have something to show for being a Christian at the end of the day. Because your reward is based. You'll get there, right? But whether you get the mansion that Jesus talks about, right, or whether you get a tent or a sleeping bag, depends on what you deliver. In my opinion, when I read the Bible, that's how I interpret it. No, when I reach there won't be anything. Well, what was you doing? Because my accomplishments will be just everywhere. It's it will be a conversation. But I really like the way you did that. Where am I? I'm sure the church don't mind me using Zoom. I know the church don't mind me using Zoom, but we've got to take it up a level. I have to educate the church on how to launch a podcast. So we're gonna be migrating onto a podcast channel this quarter, and yeah, you guys will learn. That's part of how to evangelize online. How is ChurchGOers funded? Is this a personal project? If others want, remember, I told you guys earlier, ChurchGOers is the mobilization of the digital ministry teams that already exist across the kingdom. They're just not mobilized. They don't understand their full remit or responsibility. They don't understand their value to the church and to the kingdom. I'm just explaining it to them and mobilizing them with a few tools. It was just too easy for me to do. But when you talk about funding, so the funding is like, well, the ecosystem behind the church. All right, let me just say that the only part, right, that requires funds if you join as a church or if you join as a business. In other words, if you're a business and you want to promote your business on the church through listings, through our various tools, then we provide the way for you to do that. And we just charge a small membership fee, which is like £50 a year, which is like, it's not even money, right? If you're a church, then you can come on board for free, and I'll explain that to church leaders, as we go along. But yeah, this isn't a money-making thing. I come from the tech world. Trust me, in 1 month I can earn like sufficiently enough to not want to have to make money from the church. This stemmed from my involvement in the church manifesto. This is not a commercial initiative. This was a task given to me from senior church leaders, and I accepted the challenge. And when I do something, I do it to the best of my abilities. How will you be choosing those that you will be mobilizing? No. The team already exists. So the digital ministry team already exists in your church. Whoever's responsible for doing AV, e-compliance, GDPR, all that sort of stuff. All I'm saying is you guys come together. Here's the best practices that we think that you should be adhering to. Any questions, we're here to help. So that's too simple. If I have a testimony, how do I submit it? I covered that in the demo 10 minutes ago, right? You go onto the network, you click create article, and you write your testimony in there. I think for those of you who are nimble-fingered, 30 minutes, and it's all done, right? But I'll give you 2 hours. Just set aside 2 hours, because you need to think about which one of your testimonies, and we'll accept more than one, but which one of your testimonies do you want us to publish in the Testimonies Bring Hope book, anthology book that we're going to publish next month? We're not playing. I take my job seriously in the kingdom. Who's that? Oh, Jackie had to go back to work, so she has dialed off. I see a familiar face that has just quickly joined. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Welcome to ChurchGOers, sir. Towards the end, but you missed the presentation.
No. You just didn't see me. I heard you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So you can see I've been busy. And all this, churchgoers, because for those of you who don't know or watching this on replay, this gentleman has been a director of NCLF, the organization that brought me in to create the manifesto for action. And churchgoers is the manifestation of that document. I said we need to build a system that does this, and as many of the challenges that I could solve using this platform have been incorporated into churchgoers. It's quite comprehensive. I'm quite pleased at how my vision has been realized without any money. Do you know what I mean? With just the talent that God gave me, I've been able to realize that talent. But yes, sir, if you were listening, any questions?
No, I don't necessarily have any questions. I just want to reinforce the fact that it is vitally important that we mobilize the church. We have a traditional way of thinking that going to all the world means you've got to be literally a physical missionary or evangelist in a traditional sense.
Right.
And through digitalization, you can be a missionary and an evangelist. And really, what you are illustrating here is how do we get folks who will have different interests still getting involved in the work of the church.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate this very much.
Absolutely. 5 billion plus people online. And, so even the Book of Testimonies initiative that we've kicked off for this month, we're going to, that will reach people. They'll be on Amazon. And Amazon is an international organization. I think yourself have authored books or publications. And you was a key contributor to the manifesto. So, and the Bible is the most, let me think, the Bible is, what's the statistic? I think the Bible is the best-selling book of all time, consistently, year on year on year on year. Yeah. And it contains testimony. So what we're doing is following scripture, following the Bible. We're just, we're just doing a little snippet of it. But the key being that we are also showing people that whatever their talent is, it can be rendered online. If you're good at words, fine. If you're more vocally talented, then we're going to show you how to start your own podcast. We're just showing you all the different channels you can use to evangelize online, and that's just one aspect of what ChurchGOers is hoping will accomplish. By the time that we are finished, so it's enjoyable, but as you know, the church takes a long time to act. That document was called a manifesto for action. I don't know who thought of the word action, because I have seen the opposite of action. I've seen words, I've seen faith, I've seen prayers, but action is, I haven't seen too much evidence of that, but I'm on it. I'm working on it. And I pray about it, because it's so frustrating for me who can do things really quickly. I have to wait, in some instances, over a year just to get my foot in the door to talk about what people should be doing. And I wish it could be easier for me. I wish it was easier for me to get an audience, but the platform will eventually get the audience I need, and I'll be able to give them the guidance. But other than that, I am enjoying it. And yes. And as I say, I'd love to get you on the platform, because you have a mission while you're in England. I know you're Caribbean resident, but there is a business element. There is an ecosystem to churchgoers, which probably only you and certain people will be able to understand how it all hangs together and what my thoughts are. And you might be able to give other dimensions to that design, to that architecture. So I'm very keen to get you on either on this Zoom version, or when we migrate to a proper podcasting platform, for you to come on board.
Okay, looking forward to that very much, Brother Paul.
Perfect. So I am looking forward to. So for those of you who don't know, so Reverend Ronald Nathan,
yeah,
has a roadshow going on, and it's on Marsha Dixon's platform. I posted it in all the in comms area. It's on Monday at 7:30, I believe.
Yeah.
It's a Zoom event, and what will you be discussing if you'd like to just introduce that topic?
Yeah, the role of the Black church in Black economic empowerment in the UK.
There you go, and that's just my cup of tea, and I'm hoping that everything works out, that I can contribute to that discussion. I don't know whether it's interactive or whether it's presentational, but yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Bless.
Perfect. Okay, so we normally do an hour. If you have, we got one new message. Let me just see if we got. All right, I think we're done. So if you've got any more questions, and also we need to meet. We've never actually physically met, so we have to try and make that happen. Bishop Joe is kind of unavailable at the moment for personal reasons.
Yeah.
And you was my next best favorite member of that organization.
Don't be saying that, you put me in trouble.
Yes. So yeah, let's see if we can make. How long are you here for?
Actually, I may be around for a while.
Oh,
But we'll talk about that. Yeah.
We'll talk about it. Okay. All right. Well, thanks for popping in. And I will catch up with you on Monday, and then we'll talk thereafter as to when we can schedule you in as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Blessings.
All right. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Okay. So that concludes today's offering of churchgoers. It always goes real quick, but that's the blessing we have. Have a nice weekend, and we'll catch up again next week, God willing. I'll be praying for you. All right.